What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome back to another FPL video. It's international break time, so there is a little bit more time between now and the deadline than there usually would be. So we've got a bit of different content planned for the international break, which will be coming over the next kind of 3-4 days. But today I thought we'd ease ourselves in with a watch list video, looking at players, as always, that have kind of caught the eye. Maybe I've got slightly wrong. Maybe injuries have changed our perception around whether we should be buying a player and stuff like that. There's 4 players to talk about in total. If you do enjoy it, please do hit that like button. And keep hitting that subscribe button as well. We are less than 2,000 subscribers away from 250,000, which is absolutely mad. So please do keep supporting the channel. Hit that subscribe button if you're new around here. And I guess we should probably talk about the first player. So as soon as there's an injury to the front three, Diogo Jota becomes kind of firmly on the watch list, that's for sure, right? He may get enough minutes at times, like anyway, to kind of warrant his price and, you know, will get enough returns. But usually you want one of them to be missing out to kind of get more assurity that he's going to start every single week. Now, we don't quite know how long Firmino is going to be out for. We'll come on to that in a minute. But if we look at Jota's numbers, 0.56 expected goals per 90, 0.32 expected assists per 90. Whether or not you use stats or not, let me just tell you, that's very close to kind of Mo Salah numbers. And he was very similar last year as well. Obviously, he doesn't play as many minutes over a normal season when everyone's fit. But obviously, things change once one of those front three is injured. And Firmino is injured. So we'll come on to the fixtures in just a second. This is what was said on Friday, right? So this was an update from Klopp. He said, Bobby is not good news with a serious hamstring injury. Really unfortunate. We don't know exactly how long he'll be out for. Will be out, but it will be not now after the... So basically, right, to paraphrase, he's got a serious hamstring injury. He's going to be out until after the international break. We have to work on that. We don't know exactly how long. I saw some speculation that it would be a month, but right now we don't know for sure. If we look at the fixtures for Liverpool... If we say it's a month's time, right? So it happened around the 5th of November. So we say a month's time is the 5th of December. Potentially, he's still going to... Firmino is possibly going to miss 4 matches. And even when he's back, how quickly he'll come back into the side... kind of remains to be seen, right? And obviously you've got African Cup of Nations coming up, and I think people were saying on stream last night that players might have to go as early as Boxing Day. So if he's going to play 4 fixtures anyway, Jota, and then Firmino's going to possibly be back, possibly not, might be back quick, might be put into the back the team a little bit slowly, then you're starting to get to the point where Mane and Salah might go anyway, and then Jota remains nailed on. And okay, Liverpool might not be such a good team missing those 2 players, but at 7.5 million, you can hardly go wrong with Jota. Now, this is all kind of best case scenario that from an FPL point of view, Firmino's out for long enough where Jota plays a lot of matches and then Mane and Salah go and Jota continues to play all those matches as well. It might not happen, but the fixtures are pretty good anyway. They're not like out of this world brilliant, but they're not that bad either. Yes, Arsenal defence has probably improved, but this is at Anfield. This is Liverpool, one of the best attacks in the league. Then you've got Southampton, Everton, Wolves, Villa, Newcastle. These are all teams that Liverpool will cause problems for. And Jota is just always a bit of a danger. Now, against West Ham, he wasn't that good. He did have a couple of headers that I remember. Outside of that, I don't really remember him getting too many clear-cut chances. But that's just one game. That's against a pretty good defence in West Ham. And I think he'll be fine moving forward. So right now, if he's nailed on and you're looking at 7.5 million midfielders, who else is there really that can compete with Jota? Like Gallagher, Smith-Rowe, and Bomo to a certain extent maybe are all decent players. And they are a bit cheaper. But for 7.5 million, it just feels like a bit of a bargain to get Liverpool's kind of what would be first choice striker because Firmino's out. So I don't know how quickly I want to move to him because obviously Son is a consideration, and later on in this international break I'll talk a bit more specifically about my team. But Jota, once it looks like he's going to be nailed, has to be on the watch list. He is, and there is every chance he gets brought in this week, even if it means delaying the Spurs player just a little bit longer. We'll see. But I think Jota is that good. I really just want to find out how long Firmino might be out for. Okay, let's talk about Conor Gallagher. I think I may have already put him on a watch list video a while back, but let's talk about him again. I need to kind of get a slide to actually talk about who's on the watch list and when they're kind of dropping off and why at some point. So that's something I'll work on over the next few weeks. But I think I probably was a little bit wrong about Gallagher. I'm fine to admit that. Like, I'm not one of those people that kind of shouts every time they get a call right, because I'll get plenty wrong as well. But there's 2 things to it. One, I probably did underestimate just how good or how well Conor Gallagher would continue his attacking potential, which he has done really well. Like those first few weeks, he was brilliant. He got two goals against West Ham, 2 assists against Spurs. Then, to be fair, he only got like 1 assist over the next 5 games. But obviously, he's come back to the front now with a goal against Man City, assist against Man City, and then a goal against Wolves as well. And his expected data, XG, XA as well, have been pretty good. And it hasn't really dropped that much since the start of the season. So I think I definitely would say that I've kind of underestimated him. But what I wouldn't say is that buying Mbommo was a bad call. Like, it's very easy now to just sit there, and I know a lot of people do it. Well, Mbommo didn't get as many goals, didn't get as many as assists, therefore he's not as good. And I get that. He only has 1 goal in the last kind of 5 games. 5 games for him because he missed a game against Burnley. So he's only got 2 goals all season. But if we're trying to determine like who might be good moving forward, then personally, rather than goals or assists, I use expected data. If you've watched the channel for a while, you know that. And so Conor Gallagher's expected goal involvement's 0.5, which is really good, by the way, especially for a 5.8 million midfielder. For Mbommo, it's 0.54, so it's actually slightly higher. And we know how many times he's hit the freaking woodwork this season as well, which has been massively frustrating. And I get that people are really annoyed that they didn't get returns against Norwich, and now it's like the world has ended and stuff like that. But I don't think if you've got Mbommo, the right call is to move him to Gallagher. You could say he's in form, right? He's got a goal and assist against City and a goal against Wolves, fair enough. But he only had 1 assist in the previous 5 games. So Mbommo's in a pretty bad spot right now as well. I get that. But I think you've got to at least give him Newcastle away. After that, you could possibly move him on. Everton at home, Spurs away is probably not as good as Villa at home, Leeds away for Gallagher. But then Brentford play Leeds away, Watford at home. After Man United, they got Southampton. You could probably keep him long term and use a transfer elsewhere. So I think for me, for Gallagher, if I need to make a move to fund a different move where I'm reducing or like downgrading a midfielder to someone under 6 million, then it would be now a tight call between him and Smith Rowe. They are the two that I would have to decide between. But if it's a case of like just leaving Mbommo or using a transfer, I suspect I will probably leave him for a bit longer. I just don't know if that's worth a move, right? But did get Gallagher wrong, I think. Only time will tell just how wrong I got it. And I think he has to be back on the watch list. That's a good set of fixtures he's got there. Maybe slightly better than Mbommo. I don't think there's much in it, though. But at some point, if I want to get Kane, I want to get Ronaldo, I might need another cheaper midfielder, so I've got to keep my eye on him. So I think from an FPL perspective, right, Lamptey is like just one of those players that I love, a bit like Mikel Antonio, because he's usually a bit cheaper than the competition, but his stats are not necessarily the same, but they're almost as good. I mean, for Antonio, they're kind of similar to some of the elite players. Lamptey, not quite so much, but they are still very, very good for a defender, which I'll go into in just a second. He's only 4.4 million. His ownership is obviously low. His points per match aren't really worth looking at because he's had a lot of cameo appearances off the bench for obvious reasons, right? He was out for a long time, but he's finally had his first start, and I think it's good for him, and it's obviously great for Brighton to have him back. And look, the fixtures are not great. Like, you look at them and you think, how many kind of defensive returns am I going to get? But I do rate the Brighton defence pretty highly. And at 4.4 million, he wouldn't necessarily be a player that I would go and play week in, week out anyway. And I think, again, a bit like Gallagher, like he is in a position where I might need a defender downgrade depending on what transfers I do. And for 4.4 million, I don't know if you can get much better. Obviously, Livramento is great, but I already own him. And I think getting in on the Brighton defence with one of their most attacking players is a pretty nice option. So to give you an example, right, 0.23 expected goals and expected assists combined is pretty good. So I just run through some other defenders so far this season. Again, numbers could increase, could decrease over the course of the season. But Robertson is 0.28. Trent is like really high, 0.55, as is Reece James, 0.58. Those two are absolutely crazy so far this season. And really, I should probably be figuring out a way to get Reece James instead, like I spoke about last week. Chilwell's 0.28. So again, remember that Lamptey's 0.23. And Cancelo is 0.26. And imagine how like attacking it feels like Cancelo has been. And obviously, he plays in a better defence. All these players do. Chilwell, James, Trent, Robertson, and Cancelo. They all play in better defences. I get that. But you also pay a massive premium for that. So for Lamptey to be almost as attacking or not that far off. And obviously, even if we look at last year's numbers, 0.17 expected goal involvement, that's pretty good. You only have to watch him to see how far forward he is. He's always out wide. He's always high up the pitch because obviously they play with a wing-back system. Like, he is decent. And if we're looking at players like Reguilon, we're talking about 0.08. Emerson Royale, 0.04. Again, these players will probably increase in attacking potential, but with Lamptey, it's already there. We already know how good he is. And I think the Brighton defence has improved and is decent as well. So as an enabler, I really like him. Again, I'm not going to treat him like Reece James or Chilwell or Trent, where they have to be played every single week because they're just that good. He doesn't. But for example, if I needed to do a move this week which involved getting a defender and a cheap one, you bring him in, you bench him, and then you potentially play him against Leeds, you potentially play him against Wolves, you potentially play him against Southampton, and you just ignore the other fixtures and play one of your attackers instead. So I really like him. I should just really touch on the fact that he is a little bit injury prone. He was out for a long time. Is he going to play now every single week? Brighton have got the defenders to not have to have that happen. Like, Veltman could play right wing back. Even though he's not as good as Lamptey when it comes to attacking, he can play there. And they've got plenty of centre-backs that could play in the middle instead. So it's not even a definite that he plays every single week. But if Potter can get him playing every single week, that's definitely what he's going to want to do because he is just that good. So I've got my eye on him. He's not like this such good defender you have to rush out and get him, but he is very good. He's got the fixtures coming up to play him in certain game weeks, and he's cheap. So I like him. I'm going to think about it. So I'll be honest, right, I think Bowen is definitely a transfer for down the line. I don't really see a good reason to bring him in straight away, but this is a watch list, players to keep an eye on. He's definitely on there because from game week 16 onwards, the fixtures get pretty good. For anyone that sold Antonio, that's probably the week they're looking at maybe bringing him back. You could wait to the Norwich game in game week 18, which is a long way away. So thinking about Bowen right now is probably not the best move. But later on, he definitely, like, for example, if you're like me, you put together transfer plans for a few weeks ahead just to see where you're kind of at, how many transfers you need to get to where you want to be. Bowen is definitely a part of that. Like, I think the fixtures from game week 16, Burnley away, are pretty decent. I don't think bringing him in now is a mistake if it's part of rotation. But there are obviously quite a few other players around that price point: Rafinha, Saka, Smith Rowe, Gallagher, and Bomo. We've talked about them all already, or various videos over the last few weeks. But it's almost like he deserves to be talked about because he's been so good. I don't think he's blanked for like 7 games or something like that. 1.8% ownership. His numbers are looking good. 5.3 expected goal involvement. Now that is a bit higher than the last few seasons, which have both been 0.38, but 0.38 is still respectable for that price, especially given how good West Ham have been. And also, like, if I just bring up him on the other screen, just to see it. In fact, let me just show you what I'm doing rather than just doing it without you being able to see. Like, he has started every single game, so he's nailed. And also, I think if we're going to be concerned about potential midweek fixtures, so we've got 2 Sunday games for West Ham, then it's a midweek on Wednesday, then it's Saturday, Sunday, midweek again, then it's Saturday, Sunday, midweek, Saturday, and that's a really quick turnaround again. Like, there is a chance that if anyone gets rested, it's possibly going to be Antonio. Again, I think Antonio is just too good to worry about missing the odd match. I just don't know if Bowen will. I think his fitness levels are probably just that, not necessarily fitness levels, but injury concerns and stuff like that, probably not as bad. Obviously, he's been linked with Liverpool and all sorts, right? So there's people kind of looking at him, just how good he's been. And I think, I don't know, the way I'm kind of talking about in this video, and this is kind of me just thinking out loud now, is we're talking about Gallagher. Could he be good? Bowen could be good. A lot of people got Smith Rowe. Rafinha is going to be an option once Leeds fixtures get better as well. And right now, no one's going to be looking to get rid of him anyway. So there's all this talk from me as well that going for midfielders might be better because you've got Antonio, you've got Jimenez, Hwang, Tony, etc. But there's also quite a few cheap midfielders as well. So even if you wanted to go 3-5-2 and have a couple of cheapies to get a decent defence, there's lots of options there, lots to think about. So I don't think right now that I'll be necessarily looking to bring Bowen in, like I said, but he has to be one on the watches. If he can keep those numbers up, especially over these tougher fixtures, given that he's playing every single week, given how good West Ham are playing, and given how good the fixtures are from kind of December, January, he's definitely one to have in your transplants. Maybe not right now, although not an awful decision, but later on, definitely. There you go. That's some of my watch list players ahead of Game Week 12. Obviously, there's lots to think about over this break, and I'm going to be doing a bit more thinking out loud on the videos coming up over the next kind of few days, and obviously all the usual stuff next week as well. So please do subscribe if you haven't already. Like I said, very, very close to 250k. What a mental number. So hit that button, hit that like button if you enjoyed it as well. Let me know below who is on your watch list going into Game Week 12. And I'm back tomorrow with another video. I'll see you then.